stephenakent.ua.ualberta.ca. Please go check him out. Sociologist. He's got a whole hate piece written on him. Hate crimes are a crime, Scientology. In case you didn't know that, hate crimes are actually federal crimes. British child visitation case. Expert statement, February 10th, 1999. I, Stephen Allen Kent, of the Department of Sociology, University of Alberta, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Tango 6, G as in game, 2, H as in hotel, 4, will say as follows. 1. I am a sociologist by profession, specializing in the area of alternative religions. I am a professor of sociology at the University of Alberta in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, where I have worked for the past 10 years. I have been a full professor of sociology since July 1997. Prior to that time, I held various positions as assistant and associate professor in the Department of Sociology. I maintain adjunct professor status in the Department of Comparative Literature, Religion, and Film Media Studies, which means that I can co-supervise graduate students and have some of my sociology courses cross-listed for students in religious studies. I teach classes on the sociology of religion at both the undergraduate and graduate level. My particular area of expertise is in an area variously called new religions, alternative religions, or sectarian groups. Scientology is among the groups that I have studied. In addition to these normal academic studies, I oversee a restricted access collection of primary and secondary material on alternative religions, owned by the University of Alberta Library, which includes Scientology material. Did you guys catch that? Two, I began formal studies of Scientology along with at least 5 other groups. In 1986, when I received a grant from the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada to study cults and new religions in the country. 3. One of my articles on Scientology has appeared in a peer-reviewed journal, Scientology's Relationship with Eastern Religious Traditions, Journal of Contemporary Religion, 11, number 1, 1996, 21 through 36. I refer often to the organization in other articles that I have published on related sociology of religion topics. These additional articles include 1. Deviance labeling and normative strategies in the Canadian New Religions Counter-Cult debate. Canadian Journal of Sociology 15, number 4, 1990, 393 to 416, 2. New Religious Movements in the Sociology of Religion, a Canadian Focus, New York Butterworths. Social Control in Alternative Religions, a Familial Approach, Sociological Analysis 53, number 4, in which I am a second author with Robert Cartwright. 4. Crimes in Encyclopedia of Religion and Society, edited by William H. Swatos. Deviance in Encyclopedia of Religion and Society, edited by William H. Swatos, Jr., London. Six, When Scholars Sin, Alternative Religions and Their Academic Supporters, co-author with Teresa Krebs. I continue to research and write about Scientology and other groups. 4. I have given invited talks on Scientology to audiences in Germany and a Germany parliamentary committee. Imagine Germany knew what was up. Invited me to present information to it about Scientology in September 1997. Trying to think, who was our president in 97? In that presentation, I spoke about my concerns around Scientology's operation of forced labor in reindoctrination programs called the Rehabilitation Project Force, or RPF, and its even harsher and more punitive Rehabilitation Project Forces, Rehabilitation Project Force. These are programs that elite Sea organization members enter after internal trials or high-ranking leaders find them guilty of crimes against Scientology. The RPF program is of particular interest to the parties involved in this case because credible evidence exists from a number of sources that Scientologists have placed children as young as 12 years old on this harsh and abusive program. 5. By 1993, media reporters began calling me in order to receive my opinions on topics about which they were working. Since then, newspapers in Canada, the United States, Switzerland, and Germany have quoted me about the organization. Similarly, I have spoken on radio and television shows about Scientology in Canada, the United States, Germany, and Australia. 6. In light of my training and professional work, I consider myself qualified to speak about broad issues involving Scientology and children. Scientology and children, troll. Concerns about Scientology's impact upon its children. 7. Concerns about Scientology's impact upon children fall under several categories. A. Auditing. B. Children's contact with someone who is hostile to the Scientology organization. C. Belief that auditing can eliminate various physical illnesses. D. Time demands that interfere with parents' time in a manner that adversely affects their children. E. Possible neglect of children. And F. Security checking. My sources of information about Scientology and children are A. American St. Hill Organization, The Auditor Issue 269, 1997, pages 8. B. John Atack, A Piece of Blue Sky, Scientology Dianetics, and L. Ron Hubbard Expose, New York, Lyle Stewart, 1990. B. Church of Scientology International, compiler, The Scientology Handbook, Los Angeles Bridge Publications, 1994. C. CSI, Church of Scientology International. How many of these ex-Scientologists worked there, you guys? Hint, hint. 1988, The Command Channels of Scientology booklet. Page 49. Okay, rather than me read all of the resources, the sources, I mean, I'm going to go further and see what we're going to read about. You guys can all check that out. So you got Barefaced Messiah as one of them. In addition to these Scientology and critical sources, remember when people actually source their material? Because the media now is just, you guys know, I can't go into it. I've also read the affidavit statements by Brian Ronald Wilson and Christian Zirko, as well as draft statement by the respondent, name deleted. I will make a few comments about these statements toward the end of this document. Finally, I cite documents from Scientology's Office of Special Affairs. Isn't that where Rinder and Rathburn worked? Huh? Inquiring minds want to know. 10. Auditing. Scientology's own material states that auditing can be applied to children. Can be applied to children, troll. Soon after they can talk. Soon after they can talk, troll. Child Dianetics, for example, states. I'm going to read that eventually as well. The criteria for stating formal auditing are that the child understand the significance of prenatal life, know about birth, and realize that repeated running of a painful experience, it's trauma. You guys, this is trauma-based mind control. Of a painful experience will dispose of it forever. When the child is willing to face a mild pain in order to avoid later pain, formal auditing can begin. In the case of seriously disturbed children, formal auditing may, of sheer necessity, be started before the child understands these things. Hubbard Research Foundation, you guys. Ooh. Child Dianetics, pages 86 to 87. This passage indicates, therefore, that Scientologists are to believe that auditing of children is in the children's best interest. I believe Liz Gale has covered that with her mother. (11) According to Scientology's own material, one source of problems for children that will cause them to register negative experiences, which Scientology calls engrams. Is that right, you guys, Scientologists? Or former Scientologists? Is that what an engram is? To me, engrams just seem like memories. Or they could be like a traumatic experience memory. Which Scientology calls engrams, in a part of the mind that Scientologists call a reactive mind, is parents who have neuroses. As Hubbard said in Dianetics, aberrated, irrational, or manifesting engrams, parents are certain to infect their children with engrams. Hubbard Dianetics, page 162. The aberrated parents implant their mutual aberrations in the children. That also was from Hubbard Dianetics. More dramatically, auditing supposedly can uncover the aberrations that mothers committed against their fetuses in prenatal periods, according to Dianetics. It's very Charlie Igloo Alpha. Can't imagine why that would be. One of the prime sources of bad memory is mother. Here we go bashing the women again. You guys know they got to do that. And I'm talking about in Dianetics, Hubbard, and all of them. Often enough, mother has been sufficiently panic-stricken at the thought of Junior's recalling just what she did to Junior, that a mankind-wide aberration seems to have sprung up. The standard attempted abortion case nearly always has an infanthood and childhood full of mama assuring him that he cannot remember anything when he was a baby. She doesn't want him to recall how handy she was, if unsuccessful in her efforts with various instruments. In the normal course of work, the auditor will have his hands full of mama screaming, objections about her grown sons or daughters entering into therapy because of what they might find out. To me, that's projection. That's Hubbard projecting. 12. Statements such as this one imply that many children were born despite mothers' failed attempts at self-induced abortions. Oh, by the way, Hubbard was freaking obsessed with it. Moloch, anyone? Dianetics, of course, is a foundational book for both Dianetics and Scientology, and the existence of this passage which Scientology's founder wrote, allegedly, programs children to have this alleged memory. 13. Children's contact with someone who is hostile to the Scientology organization. That's somebody who asks questions. Those are not allowed. Kind of like the last 5 years, you guys. Scientology defines a suppressive person, or SP, as one who seeks to suppress or squash any betterment activity or group. Church of Scientology International Compiler. Scientology Handbook, page 426. Imagine that the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, FBI, none of them could get a hold of this stuff. Crazy, isn't it? By this legal action, the respondent, name deleted, would be, according to Scientology, a suppressive person. Because, asking questions, that's suppressive. 14. This designation has important implications for the manner in which Scientologists would view the children. Again, according to Scientology's definitions, they would be potential trouble sources because of their continued relationship with their mother. As Scientology defines the term, a potential trouble source, abbreviated PTS, is a person who is in some way connected to and being adversely affected by a suppressive person. He is called a potential trouble source because he can be a lot of trouble to himself and others. From the Church of Scientology International Compiler. Scientology Handbook, page 426. (15) More specifically, a PTS type 1 is one who is associated with or connected to a suppressive person in his present time environment. By connected is meant in the vicinity of or in communication with in some way, whether a social, familial, or business relationship. You guys can go ahead and look at the sources. I'm not going to read those anymore. 16. According to Scientology doctrine, Scientologists have their ability to progress in auditing damaged by being in contact with suppressive persons via potential trouble sources. Consequently, one accepted Scientology strategy is to attempt to get the potential trouble source to cease contact after disconnecting in Scientology from the suppressive person. As a Scientology publication states, after discussing how the organization had canceled the disconnection practice in the past, the tool of disconnection was restored to use in the hands of those persons thoroughly and standardly trained, like kids, in the technology of handling suppressives and potential trouble sources. Consequently, the respondent, name deleted, has every reason to fear that, in unsupervised visitations, her former husband would try to get the children to turn against their mother. (17) Belief that auditing can eliminate various physical illnesses. Scientology believes that around 70% of all illnesses are psychosomatic, which makes them responsive to Dianetics auditing. Indeed, a Hubbard Communication Office policy letter, revised on October 27, 1982, even states a chronically ill person, whether the person is known to be connected to a suppressive or not, is always found to have been so connected in PTS. Does that mean David Miscavige is PTS since he has asthma? 18. L. Ron Hubbard's book Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health, 1950, speaks directly about the supposed causes of illness. You see, this is how you source material, media. This is how you source material, anyone. Almost all childhood illnesses are preceded by psychic disturbance, and if psychic disturbance is present, keeping an engram is stimulated. Such illnesses can be far more violent than they should be. Measles, for instance, can just be measles, or it can be measles in company with engramic restimulation, in which case it can be nearly or entirely fatal. A check of many subjects on this matter of childhood illness being predisposed by, precipitated by, and perpetuated by engrams causes one to wonder just how violent the diseases themselves really are. They have never been observed in a clear child, and there is reason to investigate the possibility that childhood illnesses are in themselves extremely mild and are complicated only by psychic disturbance, which is to stay the restimulation of engrams. Imagine Hubbard just pulled this allegedly out of his behind. Allegedly, Hubbard, right? That was from Dianetics, page 120. You know, that's how you source a real material. 19. This belief that auditing can impact illness continues in the organization. In, for example, the Scientology monthly journal, The Auditor. We should get a hold of some of these, don't you guys think? Readers receive the process for the common cold. The process involves repeatedly saying to someone with a cold, "Why haven't you lost lately?" or "Tell me something you haven't lost." The description of the process ends with the invitation. We want to hear about the miracles that occur when you use this process. American St. Hill Organization, The Auditor, page 5. 20. Moreover, Scientology doctrine also states that a Scientologist touching an injury, infection, or illness can assist in healing or curing. This is also grooming of children. As a Scientology publication indicates, the application of touch assists is not limited to injuries. They are not just for the banged hand or the burned wrist. They can be done on a dull pain in the back, a constant earache, an infected boil, an upset stomach. In fact, the number of things this simple but powerful process can be applied to is unlimited. 21. These unorthodox attitudes toward illness and healing raise legitimate concerns about whether Scientologists would respond quickly and appropriately if children were to become injured while in their care. 22. Time demands that interfere with parents' time in a manner that adversely affects their children. In the paper that I delivered in Leipzig, Germany in 1997, I documented how the Scientology organization itself becomes functionally a new family for Sea organization members, often at the expense of their spouses and children. In essence, evidence exists that, at least in the past, Scientology's long and harsh work demands forced many of its most committed members, like kids, to perform tasks that kept them away from their children. When an organization such as Scientology apparently places its most committed members under arduous work hours, then concerns exist about similar kinds of time demands placed upon Scientology parents who are not Sea Org members, but nevertheless are on staff at local Scientology offices. '23. Possible neglect of children. Also, in my Leipzig presentation, I documented instances of probable neglect of children by their Sea organization parents. Living in play conditions for Sea organization children seemed poor, at least in the past in some locations, and some children seemed to have been neglected while their parents fulfilled their Scientology responsibilities. Many more examples of probable instances of child abuse and neglect within Scientology are available on the World Wide Web at www.taxexemptchildabuse.net. We're going to have to check that out if it's still there. Scientology and Dianetics tax-exempt child abuse and neglect. Imagine this is one of the only men ringing the alarm. Security checking on September 21st, 1961. So allegedly, hubby wrote this in 61, allegedly. Ron Hubbard produced a document entitled Security Check Children. Imagine that the LAPD has never gotten hold of this one, right? Imagine Clearwater PD, they don't know what it is. Government officials don't know what it is, right? And specified it for children whose ages range from 6 to 12 years old. It contained 99 questions by my count, and it leads into them with the statement, the first question is the most potent. That first question is, what has somebody told you not to tell? Almost like a Charlie Igloo Alpha interrogation question. Huh. Other questions include, do you have a secret? Have you ever done anything you were very much ashamed of? And have you ever cried when you shouldn't have? Presumably Scientology adults, like parents, put children through this security check, the one Rinder didn't seem to talk about, while the children were on the reputedly spiritual counseling device, the e-meter, glorified lie detector, in my opinion. In my opinion. I have never seen this children's security check canceled, and its existence raises important questions about the extent to which the Scientology organization believes it has the right to intrude into the lives of its children. Comments about the other affidavits and statements. 25. In her draft statement, the respondent name deleted indicated that her former husband used to sit one of their children, name deleted, down and make him stare at him for as long as half hour without moving. I want to interject here, you guys. That is Mind Control 101. And once I get through this, I'm going to start showing you documents that compare it all. I now know this is called the first stage of the TRs. It's also hypnosis. This deduction is essentially correct. The Scientology handbook describes the TR training routine, TRO confronting, in the following manner. Training stress, student and coach sit facing each other, neither making any conversation or effort to be interesting. They sit and look at each other and say and do nothing for some hours. This includes children. Student must not speak, fidget, giggle, or be embarrassed or fall asleep. Again, I want to add, that's Mind Control 101. It does something like it bypasses your body's normal way of reacting to things, and I don't know how to explain it, but it bypasses. It allows your mind to be hijacked. I don't know how to explain it. They sit and look at each other and say and do nothing for some hours. Student must not speak, fidget, giggle, or be embarrassed or fall asleep. The Scientology Handbook, page 168. 26. The respondent, name deleted, also indicated that her former husband, who was the applicant, name deleted, would not let her or anyone else go near the children when they hurt themselves, as he claimed that speaking to them would create engrams. This was one thing my heart would not let me give into. Comforting your child when they're hurt, right? So it always ended up with him screaming at me and physically trying to push me away from the children. This behavior follows exactly what L. Ron Hubbard, allegedly, instructed in Dianetics regarding the prevention of engrams either occurring or becoming associated, keyed in to particular events. Preventative Dianetics, then, on the level of the individual, asks for cleared parents and then precaution against the aberrating of the child, and further precaution against the keying in of any aberration that child might have received. To do this is very easy. Maintain silence in the presence of injury. Do what has to be done for the injured or ill, and do it in silence. I just want to interject what I think that is. It's so unbelievably sad. And also, what's his name? Fritz Springmeier covered it in How to Create an Illuminati Mind-Controlled Slave, that book. This is making the child know that nobody's coming to help them. It's the saddest thing. But if you guys notice, I don't want to go too far off, but if you'll notice, a lot of the first generation Scientologists seem to just have no clue about what that means. Like, in other words, they don't know how to read books about it or anything. They just didn't know. They didn't have any idea that you're supposed to comfort a child that's hurt. 27. Moreover, the applicant's name deleted, allegedly violent reactions, screaming and trying to push his wife away from the children, is in accordance with Hubbard's instructions. Don't talk around a sick child. If the doctor decides to hold a long, drawn-out conversation around the sickbed, your natural feeling of courtesy or awe might restrain you from doing something about it. But your natural feeling of courtesy or awe may have severely aberrate the child for the rest of his life. A good swift kick in the shin of anybody talking around a sick child, or almost any physical violence, would be justifiable Federal Bureau of Investigation under the circumstances. And that was from Child Dianetics. I'll be reading that too. It's free to read a book. Can't be sued for that. The applicant's name deleted alleged behavior and attitude toward injured children, and his alleged behavior toward his wife at the time when she tried to comfort children who were hurt. You see, that's how they cut the mother-child bond. Again, in the Springmeier book, it's the same. And it worked. If you guys haven't seen, if you haven't noticed, it did work. Was keeping with Hubbard's directives, allegedly. 28, although the applicant name deleted, has provided an undertaking to the court that he would not indoctrinate the children into Scientology doctrines, Scientology's policies, which he must follow as a Scientologist, would make it necessary for him to attempt to do so were he to have the opportunity. Also, if you notice, this former Scientologist mother is trying to fight for her children. They stole them right away from her. You're good at that. 29, finally, I must offer a few comments on parts of Dr. Brian Wilson's affidavit, who is an expert on behalf of the applicant, name deleted. Crucial facts are inaccurate, and these inaccuracies allow Dr. Wilson to draw erroneous conclusions. First, Dr. Wilson states that he has discovered no evidence on the operation of an intelligence agency. There's that word again. You guys know that's what Hubbard came from in the Navy. It must be a coincidence. Within the Church of Scientology, actually abundant information exists about this so-called internal intelligence agency, formerly known as the Guardian's Office, and now called the Office of Special Affairs, under which works the Department of Special Affairs. A 1988 publication by the Church of Scientology International describes the official structure and duties of the Office of Special Affairs as follows. The Office of Special Affairs International, OSA Int. How many ex-Scientologists have we seen come out of that place? Which extends through continental liaison offices to org-level Department 20s, the Department of Special Affairs. The OSA network is responsible for handling all external matters. But Rinder didn't know anything, of the church, including legal defense, government, and media relations, to the result of the total acceptance of Scientology and its founder, L. Ron Hubbard. OSA helps create a safe environment for orgs to operate in and expand by their actions. I note that this section also states that OSA claims to help orgs expand by keeping them operating fully in accordance with the laws of the land, but recently leaked documents indicate otherwise. Looks like this professor did more research than the FBI. 31. Insight into the actual operations of the Office of Special Affairs comes from confidential training documents that Office of Special Affairs personnel had to study in 1991, in which former Department of Special Affairs member Frank Oliver, currently residing in Florida, has entered as evidence in an American court case between FactNet and Scientology's Bridge Publications International. The list of documents that members of the Office of Special Affairs Investigations section had to study includes the following. Oh wait, Rinder, he didn't reveal this either, did he? OSA Network Order Number 9. OSA Network Order Number 15. C. OSA Network Order 35. D. HCOPL, Hubbard Communications Office, Policy Letter, dated 25 April 68. E as in Echo, HCOPL, 16 February 1969, Battle Tactics. F as in Frank, HCOPL, 1 September 69, Romeo. Counter Espionage. G, Executive Directive, 10 September 1991, suppress a persons and groups list. Apparently FBI couldn't get a hold of that either. Interesting how a lot of their terminology in Scientology is just like the military or Charlie Igloo Alpha. Weird, huh? Especially since, allegedly, Hubbard wasn't even in the military that long. Hint, hint. A particular interest is the item OSA Invests, 9 July 1991, Frequent Flyer Club Hat, which instructed Office of Special Affairs investigation staff how to call airlines and attempt to get the frequent flyer records of people, and hence the record of people's trips. Aside from being illegal, I don't think anybody's seen a day in jail for it, have they? This activity is a classic example of Scientology's intelligence gathering activities. 32. While Brian Wilson may not have had ready access to material filed in an American court case, abundant and easily accessible information exists on the internet about Scientology's intelligence agency and operations at Zeno.net. 33. I note too that one of the documents that OSA investigation staff studied was about suppressive persons and groups. Its inclusion as a document that Scientologists had to study indicates that both Mr. Christian Zirko, who is an expert on behalf of the respondent, and I are corrected in emphasizing. In contrast to Dr. Wilson, the importance of the suppressive person term in assessing how the Scientology organization views the respondent. Also, I just want to bring up to you guys, it's exactly the same as the anti-V's. If you guys don't know, I can't go into it. Think about that for a minute. 34. Dr. Wilson is incorrect when he states categorically, Scientologists are voluntary participants. That's their favorite line, you guys. Are voluntary participants in their religious faith. They are not incarcerated, right? And they are not subject to a regime of threats and blandishments, right? While I could debate the extent to which Scientologists are subjected to various types of threats as they progress in the organization's Rehabilitation Project Force and its even more severe Rehabilitation Project Force meets, in my opinion, the social scientific designation of brainwashing. These two programs put supposedly deviant Scientology Sea Org members, including children, by the way, probably including some preteens. There you go. They love that word teen. People just can't say children when it comes to Scientology. A preteen is a child. Around 11 or 12, like I said, a child. Through regimes of harsh physical punishment, forced self-confessions, social isolation, hard labor, and intense doctrinal study. All as part of leadership-designed efforts to regain members' ideological commitment. And then he cites the sources. Mr. Zirko, an expert on behalf of respondent's name, is aware of the Rehabilitation Project Force and refers to a short article of mine on the topic that his counterpart organization in Denmark published in a magazine. Big up to Mirjam. 35. Once again, Dr. Wilson, an expert witness for the applicant, name deleted, seems to be unaware of the Rehabilitation Project Force. Kind of like the grimy lawyers that Serge was trying to correct and get straightened out. The commentaries and critical accounts of Scientology. Wilson affidavit. 8. Among the best of the critical accounts, this is before John Atek got hijacked, is by John Atek, an Englishman whose book, A Piece of Blue Sky, Scientology Dianetics, and L. Ron Hubbard Exposed, was published in 1990 and has numerous sections on the Rehabilitation Project Force program. I have that book sitting around here. I already told you guys. 36. While little points existing in analyzing Dr. Wilson's dismissal of Mr. Zirko's statements about L. Ron Hubbard's charlatanism, see Zirko's statement and Wilson affidavit. 16. Suffice it to say that Dr. Wilson does not cite the definitive source, this is gaslighting by the way, on L. Ron Hubbard, which is another book written by an Englishman, when biographer Russell Miller published his unsurpassed Hubbard biography in 1987. He revealed his sentiments about Scientology's founder in the title of his book Barefaced Messiah, a wordplay on the phrase barefaced liar. I make this statement knowing that it will be placed before the court and used in evidence. I confirm that its contents are true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. Signed by Stephen A. Kent. Dated February 10th, 1999. I will leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.